Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Let Me Interrupt podcast, a podcast all about women and the amazing things that they're doing in the workplace. Today, we have an awesome episode queued up for you. So I'm going to hand it over to Melissa to do our introduction for our amazing guest.
Thanks, Cindy. Super happy to be here today with our weekend guest. Very appreciative of her time. Going to introduce Caley Wallace, who is the general manager at the local Camp Bow Wow franchise. Caley is a 23-year-old general manager, also a college student majoring in business and marketing at NCTC, with a focus one day of becoming the Camp Bow Wow regional manager in Texas. In her personal life, Caley has an amazing fiance, Robert, and is the proud mom to two puppers herself, Willow, and soon to welcome Odin. So Caley, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. I mean, we're going to cover a couple things that I think will be really interesting to our listeners, especially in management, but also those who are being managed by someone, so they can kind of understand how to have those better relationships with management.
Yeah, I think that we all, at one point in our career, unless we're the owner of our own business and an entrepreneur, I think we all have had managers, some better than others. But yeah, this will be a good conversation about doing a deeper dive into management, kind of what it takes, how to form a team, and so on. So Caley, I know I just read your bio. Would you like to, anything that you want to lead off with?
Really wanted to work with animals, and that's something that I've always wanted to do. So applied, and as soon as I got the call that I was hired, I quit my job on the spot because I was so excited. And then as working at camp, I had some really awesome managers. One of my managers, Garrett, when I first started there, he's who trained me, and I still take a lot of his training style with me and a lot of things that he taught me through camp with me as of now that I'm the training. I'm training my guys. So I take a lot of what he has taught me with me, as well as Amy and Kara. So shout out Amy and Kara, my wonderful bosses. They have taught me so much about being a boss, being a good boss who actually really cares about their employees and not just caring about their business. They really truly do care about each and every one of us. And that really shows with me and kind of trickles down the ladder. So I really care about my guys, and I make sure they're taken care of because that's super important. So they've been a super big inspiration for me as being a manager. I look at them and a lot of the things that they do, and I try to emulate them quite a lot because they are such amazing women, and really do inspire me to be a good woman boss who's not just powerful but also really empathetic, and knows when to be tough and also when to be caring to those that you're leading.
When speaking about management, it can be tough, right? Dealing with that power, the balance of power and being a person and being a partner to your workforce. And just so we get a better idea of kind of the dynamics you'll be jumping into, can you tell us a little bit about what does training mean? Like, training on one context are you training your staff?
We have some assistant managers that are being brought up right now. So it's a lot of training those guys to do a lot of what I do currently. So it's a little bit of a different training style, and training them how to show that compassion that I like to show to the rest of the team, and a lot of like getting them to understand that we care about everyone, and but we also care about our business. And there's a lot of training our younger camp counselors that are coming straight in out of high school, and that this is a lot of their first job or second job, and they don't really know how the workforce works just yet and all of that good stuff. So it's about kind of teaching them a lot in the back of house at camp, just teaching them what it is to be a hard worker and have good work ethic and care for the business that you're working for, not just doing your job to do your job, but really caring about what you're doing.
What is so unique about this conversation is that, one, you are young and that you are working with different generations, right? Can you tell us a little bit about how you work with your team to make sure that they're meeting the goals that they need to while still remaining in a place of authority when their age range is so close to you?
Yeah, I think that's something that's very challenging for me sometimes at camp. Is a lot of the people that I am leading at camp are very close to my age, to the point where I have a few that are exactly the same age as me, or like a year or two younger. So a lot of the times I come to the challenge of the friend versus the boss kind of situation, or a lot of times they talk to me like I'm their friend, which I am their friend and I love them so much. And I love that they think of me as their friend. But a lot of times it is that balance of, I want you to like me and I want to be your best friend and I want you to tell me what's going on and I want you to tell me what things that need fixing and that kind of stuff, and feel comfortable to talk to me. But I also need you to understand that you got to respect my authority on some situations. So that has been a challenge with some of the people younger than with me. I've luckily had some amazing people that I have worked with over the past few years that have been in the older generation above me, and they have taught me a lot, in the sense of management, in the sense of just things have changed, the generations have changed, and I think, it's about adapting to that new generation. So the new generation is just, it's about adapting to them and just learning as I go. I do think I'm lucky to also, I feel like I have an old soul a little bit. So I may be young and be as the same age as them, but I feel like I act 30 a lot of the times, which does help me in my role. But I think it's all about adapting to the way you talk to them and the way, you speak to someone who's older who gets the workforce, and they understand what it is to work hard and all of that stuff, and switching how you speak to someone who doesn't really get it just yet. And you have to be a little more understanding of their background and understanding of how they're coming up into the world, and things that may make sense in my head and may make sense in your head don't make sense in their head. So it's kind of adapting to how you speak to them on a case by case basis.
I think that's pretty relevant. I think that's relevant. And it's, as we're sitting here talking, I'm thinking about how different this current generation is compared to when I started off in my career, 20 plus years ago, or even my grandparents. I'd be curious to get your input and or take on, like, what do you think the key fundamental differences are in someone who might be older, established in their career versus the younger ones? I feel like maybe the younger crew is kind of, do you feel like there's some like instant gratification? Do you ever feel like, maybe they just don't, their heart's not in it? Maybe they're there to just collect a paycheck, and or, they're not serious. I remember my very first job as a nurse, they said it's like taboo to call in sick for at least 6 months. Like, don't even think about it. Go there on your deathbed if that's what it takes. And I've always practiced that my whole entire professional career. I have to be like next to desk door to call off sick or take time for myself. But now I feel like even with my son's employment, people just call off, and it's kind of like willy-nilly. And curious what your thoughts are related to that.
We've been dealing with a lot of staffing issues regarding that, of just people calling off with a tiny, because their tummy hurts or something like that, or just not showing up to their shift because they have something better to do, and not really understanding the repercussions of how that affects everyone else on that shift's day and things like that. And I think it has a lot to do with like you said, instant gratification. I think in these days with social media and everything's so quick, and so just you can't figure something out, all you have to do is Google it and you have your answer. Or people so quick to they think they just have to show up to get a paycheck. It's very hard to find people who are willing to like work hard and put their heart into their work and show passion when they're working, and understanding that with success takes hard work. You can't grow, you can't succeed in anything if you don't do a little hard work, show a little hard work.
Yeah, I think I want to jump in here, and because two things came up. So first thing from Melissa's comment is, my experience was a little bit different as far as like calling out. And I think I was right in that shift of when I first started working, that was the case. Even talking to my husband 10 years older than me, and he was always like, no, you don't call out, you don't do, you don't even want to take a breath and take a break, because it shows some weakness in like your work ethic. But I very much started, when I started, it was somewhat like that, but then it turned into understanding that if you show up sick, you're hurting other people. Like, you're going to get somebody else sick. And so I was kind of like in that loop to change my perspective there. But it is hard because, you know, you either hurt somebody by maybe getting them sick, or hurting them in that they have to cover for you and they have to pick up the slack. So it's a much harder decision to make. The other thing that is really popular right now, and I think we definitely are on board with, but it can be difficult, is there's a lot of pushing the, you know, not being committed and devoted to your job if it is not fitting within your life, if it's not fitting within your lifestyle. And I think what I would love to hear from you is, how do you create connection and engagement with your team and your employees so that, you know, they can kind of combat that of, you know, I don't see a huge role in, you know, coming in and doing X, Y, and Z. I don't care if I call out. Somebody's got it. It's not my problem. My well-being is above all that, which great. Yes, to a certain extent, definitely. But then how do you mitigate making that connection for them of bringing that care?
I think part of it is leading by example. I know that's super cheesy to say, but me and both Karen and Amy, the two owners, I feel like we lead by example a lot of times in our building, where even if we don't feel the greatest, we will still come up, we will still, you know, put on a smiling face, and we will still show up to camp and do what needs to be done, because that's what's important, and we got to do it. And we also do understand, you know, obviously if somebody's super extremely sick, we're like, we don't want you to come in, we want you to feel better, we don't want you to come in and feel atrocious. But I think we do try to lead by example a lot. There's that fine line of, do you feel awful enough that you really do feel awful, and you probably shouldn't be at work, and you should probably rest because that's what's best for you. And there's that other fine line of, you know, you feel a little bad, but you could probably, you know, get yourself a cup of coffee and head into work, and you'll probably feel a little bit better once you get moving and all that good stuff. And there's that fine line of teaching them that, you know, it's not always about, it's the importance of, you know, somebody's got to be here. I think also with my guys, they see me a lot, like almost every day I stay late. It's kind of become an ongoing joke with everybody at camp. Like a lot of my guys will be like, you're still here, you need to leave, because I just love it there, and I stay there, and I stay late, and I do, you know, random little tasks that need to be done and all of that stuff. And I will never ever leave camp with them, you know, I don't want to say in shambles, but I'll never leave them in a situation where they need help and I'm just gonna be like, bye, I'm gonna go take a nap, you guys have fun. So they see that a lot with me as well, just staying late, staying an hour late, staying an hour or two late. Not that they have to, but just the passion that I have for camp, and how important it is and how much help it can be when one person just steps up and is just there to be part of the team. And I think that's what we're really big about at camp and with these guys, is just telling them that we're a team. This is not just I care about me, you care about you, you care about you. Like, we are all in this together. This camp takes a village to run, and no one person could do it by themselves. And so we're all a part of that team. I tell them all, we're the camp family. We're just a big old family. We're all part of something, and it's all important. And when we all show up, we can do amazing things. So that helps a lot with my guys, that are more senior and stuff like that. They really are starting to understand it's very important what's important, when it's important to stay late, when it's important to step up and help the team, and also when it's okay to call out, because we also don't want you to feel awful as well. So I think they know the difference between the two. And I think we also show a lot of compassion with them. So we're never going to make them stay in the building if they're vomiting, or that you can tell, that you can just look at them and you can tell they feel awful or something like that. We're never going to be like, go get to work. We always make sure that everybody's okay. Kind of, I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of situation. And I think they're really good about that. And we do a lot of fun things for them as well. We do mini games and stuff for them to keep them motivated. We do lots of games. We do guessing games with the dogs. We'll put little pieces of our regular dogs that we see all the time. We'll put pieces of them on the board so they can guess who the dog is. and they can like win a fun prize. Just the other day, I went and bought them a whole bunch of snacks and drinks and stuff and filled the break room for them just so that they know that we love them, we care about them. And I think when they know that we care about them as people and we care that when they're there in the building, we care about them, I think it gives them a little more incentive and a little more motivation to care about what they're doing and realize that they matter and they matter in that building.
Well, some thought. I mean, I'm listening to you talk, and the passion is all over your face, and it comes out in your voice. And I know you personally, and you guys have a big responsibility, right? You're caring for other people's dogs, their prized possessions in life, their furry family members. So you guys have a big responsibility. And with that responsibility, that of those shoes that you're wearing, comes forth, managing your team effectively. But sounds like you're keeping everyone engaged. But I'm curious to know at the end of the day, so you stay late, you're doing all these things, you don't want to leave like camp, in your words, in shambles, or so you're doing all these things. How does Caley give back to herself to protect her emotional and mental well-being and making sure that she's the best that she can be for her team?
I practice a lot of self-care. I know it's super important. I do love camp. I love it to death. That was my second home. I would make me a cabin and put me a bed in there if I could. I love it so much there. But I do a lot of self-care when I come home. I work out almost daily, and that's like my therapy time. So I cut out usually about an hour of my day where I will just I'll respond to that text after. I'll respond to that email after. I will do that when I get home, and I take an hour of my day to go work out, because that's my time to kind of shut off, put music on, and really get my body moving and do things that make me feel strong and make me feel good and confident. And when I feel good and when I feel confident and I feel strong, my guys see that, and when my guys see that, they feel strong too. A lot of self-care at home as well, just hanging out with my fiance. We watch a lot of movies and TV shows together to hang out, and do things like that. Just go on walks with our dogs and fun stuff like that. Practice a lot of skincare. That's my thing. Love me some skincare. So do a lot of that stuff to self-care with myself. We also we have a lot of camp outings as well with a lot of my guys. We'll just text and get together at the bowling alley and do some fun stuff like that, to kind of engage and be friends with each other and all that stuff. But also it's fun to let off some steam and let our hair down and not have to worry about everybody's babies and all that big responsibility, and be able to just kind of enjoy our night. So we do that a lot as well.
I have two questions that I really want to learn from you. Is one, where would you give guidance to someone as to how to create a boundary, right? It's like, how much can you incorporate, or should you incorporate your staff into that, your personal space, your personal, life? And what are some of the benefits of doing that, versus maybe some of the cons?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there definitely has to be a boundary. You can't let all of your walls down. And I would love to with my guys at camp, but being in the position that I am, it is important for me to keep that kind of leadership role, even when we are out and we're doing bowling. I'll make sure the whole group's, I'm kind of the mom of the whole group. I just kind of make sure everybody's staying together, keeping together, minding their P's and Q's when we're in public, because these guys like to go crazy, and stuff like that. So I think they even know, even when we're not at camp and we're outside and we're doing stuff in a public setting, I still have that weird mom leadership energy. And I think it's also just about not sharing everything. There is some stuff, that is in my personal life that I keep in my personal life. And that's, my stuff that I keep with me and my family and all of that kind of stuff. And I think there's also a line to where it is fun to, be friends with them and on a personal level, and get to enjoy them as people and not just my team that works with me. I think it's also super important, like you said, seeing them the night before and having fun, and then seeing them the next day in your work setting, and them, not wanting them to bring that into work. And I think it's just remaining super professional when you are in the building, leaving all of that stuff at the door. And when we're in the building, I am your leader, I'm your boss, but we're in the building and we keep it professional, even if I have to remind them, hey, we'll talk about that after work kind of thing, and that's totally okay. When we're in the building, it's about it's about our job and it's about what we're doing. And as well as I think the benefits, there's so many benefits of kind of hanging out with your team and going and doing fun things after work and having fun outings and things like that. I always joke around and tell them, haha, it's my sneaky trick that we're doing team building. Ha ha ha. We're outside of camp. It's like my little sneaky trick to get us all together so that we're all part of a team and it's super fun. But I'm like, ha ha ha, ha. We're team building and you guys don't even know it. But I think it's super important. It also makes, if they're all friends and they're all part of a team and they all get along, then things run smoothly at camp because they all get along. There's no tension. We're having fun. What we do is so much fun. We get to work with dogs all day. And there's so many parts of our job that is so much fun. And when we keep the fun outside of camp, we get to bring that fun into camp. We get to know each other on a more personal level so that when we're in camp, we feel more part of our team. We know our team members. I know each of these guys, and I know, stuff they're going through outside of work, and I know, all of that good stuff. And I know, who needs a lighter day because they're going through something or things like that. So it helps me kind of be part of their lives and understand them a little bit better, which helps me as a manager to kind of understand each and every one of them and how they think and what's going on with them. And we just feel all connected and we feel like we are part of that family.
That's really good. I am a huge proponent for team building. I think that it's got a place in every industry. I love it. I love it. I mean, I've worked only in the healthcare industry my whole entire career, but good team building exercises, they're free and they're productive and they usually yield like really high impact, especially for teams that aren't where all cylinders are firing at the same time. So I think it's really, really good. So kind of wrapping up, we typically open the floor to our guests to ask them if Caley today, all the things that you've learned over the last, few years that you've been with Camp Bow Wow and you've grown, your location was a brand new location, correct? Where construction, it was a brand new location. You grew with your ownership team, you grew with your team that you're managing. If the Caley today could say anything to the Caley of yesterday, who was still working that fast food job and, was questioning whether or not she could, continue to grow and to take this challenge, you went for your interview at Camp Bow Wow, what kind of advice would you give for her?
I think I would give her a little advice of follow your passions. Trust your gut and follow what you're passionate about. I think I always knew I wanted, like I was saying, I wanted to do something with animals and I didn't quite know what. And camp just kind of happened to present itself to me. And I think it was something that I was a little like about at first, just because I wasn't like about, I was very excited to work there, but I didn't know if that was going to be my forever type of, I was just like, I want to work with it. I want to work with animals. This is a great starting point. At that moment in time, I still kind of didn't know what I wanted to do in the future. And so I think I could tell past self to just like follow what you're passionate about. And if this is something that you're passionate about, then just go with it. Don't question it and just put your all into it. Cause I think there was a lot of time at the beginning of my journey with camp that I didn't really know. And so I wasn't putting my full 100% self into camp because I was unsure what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to go into school. I didn't know if I was going to this. I didn't know. I wasn't completely sure that was what I wanted to do, even though now looking back, I'm like, girl, you should have just gone for it. You should have just, worked so hard from the get-go, and who knows what, could have happened even sooner. So I think it's just follow your passions, follow what makes you happy and what makes you feel like you.
Wise words from such a young mind. I love it. I love it. Great. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm so happy we had this conversation. I learned a lot, and I think our listeners are going to get a good understanding of just kind of how to build their leadership style cross generationally. but also how to connect with their staff. Because I got that a lot from this episode, is how to be, compassionate and connect and create engagement. So that was really, really great for you to share.
Thank you. Yeah, I think being a manager is a lot about knowing what you're doing in your business, knowing that your priorities are, and knowing what needs to be done, but also making sure that you're creating relationships with the people who are following you, and knowing how to lead in a compassionate and in a keeping it happy and keeping it fun, because that's what's going to keep everybody so involved and keep everybody so on the same page and just working as a team. And when everybody's working as a team, the whole building runs smoothly. And that's what the end goal is. So you keep everybody happy and you make connections and make relationships with all of these guys that are working hard for you and doing all the dirty work. You make sure that they're happy, then the whole building will shine, and the whole building will show that and radiate how happy and fun our environment is.
So Caley, in closing, I wanted to ask you, I know we're all in different stages of our careers. Both you ladies are still quite very young and have your whole professional lives ahead of you. But what advice would you give to someone who's listening that is questioning whether or not they should apply for that management role or make that shift into management? Any gems or advice that you would like to offer up?
I think some advice that I would have for that is, one, question yourself and do a little bit of self-reflection and just really ask yourself, is this going to make me happy? Is this something that I am passionate about? Is this something that I can give 100% of myself to? Or is this something that I don't think I want to give 100% of myself to? Because if that's the case, then you may want to find something that you're that passionate about. Because when you find something that you're passionate about, the sky is the limit. And a little bit of other advice I would say is communicate. Biggest part of the reason that I'm in the position that I am is I went to my bosses and I was like, I want more. I want more of a challenge. I want some more responsibility. I want it. Give it to me. What do you guys have that I could grow into? What's stuff that I need to work on so that I can get to that position? Things like that. So communicate with who's above you, if you have somebody above you, and ask them, what are things that you want me to work on so that I could achieve this position? What are things that you would like to see more of me? What things am I doing correctly? What things am I doing incorrectly? And are there more positions for me to grow? Are there more opportunities for me to seize? Because I think communicating with the people that are above you or your mentors or things like that, I think communicating with them and seeing what there is that you can really take and you can run with is super important, because you're never going to know unless you ask. So there's no bad questions. So ask them all the questions and see what things you can take on, because I think the more you challenge yourself, the harder you'll work, and asking for those opportunities is the only way you're going to get them.
I love that. I love that. I love that. The only way you're going to know is if you ask. Well, Caley, we are so appreciative of your time on this Sunday. We really appreciate it. We're inching ever so closely to the holidays, so we know everyone's super busy. Any New Year's resolutions going into 2023?
I think New Year's resolutions, probably, I think I'm going to take a little bit more time for myself. I think that's going to be a New Year's resolution, is I feel like I give a lot of myself away, just to people around me, to family, to camp, to school, to all the different things that I'm part of. And I think sometimes I forget to give a little bit of my time and a little bit of my energy to myself. So I think that's going to be my New Year's resolution, is to give a little bit back to myself, because it's not always bad to be a tiny bit selfish.
Well, thank you so much. And I do want to ask, because we are planning to do a holiday special type of episode. So I think it'd be really awesome if you have time to jump in and say hello to our guests again.
But yeah, thank you guys for having me. And this was so much fun. And thank you for letting me be on your show. What an honor.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we'll go ahead and do our inaugural sign off. So viewers or listeners, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us on this episode. And in the meantime, keep interrupting.